Okay, guys, I'm having like an existential crisis about everything in my life and also about this YouTube channel. Like, will spend so much time this week doing it. I guess not really long term. Why do I do it? What if someone sees and they think that I'm a weirdo, you know? I guess that would just be okay. Because I like doing it. I don't expect anything out of the channel, except for maybe some astrology readings, which I enjoy. And I like having a space on the internet. I'm not big on social media. And I like having a motivation to condensify my opinions into something I can share, because I can tend to be a bit in space. So yeah. So I guess I'm not having an existential crisis. And thanks for watching and not judging my YouTube channel. And if you are judging, then I am you, and you are just judging yourself, so hate is gonna hate. Sorry. Okay. Also, if anyone did want to follow me on social media, I actually did create an Instagram. I have 25 followers, my closest friends. I'm called the Underground Love Poet. No, it's Underground Love Poetry. And it's my poetry, so I'll accept you if you want to follow. I did private it, because not everybody needs to see the stuff on there. But if you want to follow, you should. The story of Oedipus is a story that is emerging because modern consciousness, in its affinity for sun consciousness and in its affinity for clear-cut answers and black and white thinking, tends to devalue the lunar consciousness, the consciousness of the darkness, the consciousness where we know but we don't understand, the initiation into mystery. We are blind to mystery, and Oedipus is a myth that really shows the downfall of having a lack of reverence for the mystery, for the darkness, for the acknowledgement of blindness. Hello, people of the internet. Thank you for coming to Jupiter Heals, and I hope that you'll enjoy Oedipus. Oedipus is a myth that I think is so relevant to the collective psyche, and I want to take it out of Freud's literalization. I think that's also the mistake that Oedipus makes, and it makes sense because Freud woke out of a dream and said, "I am Oedipus," and it was a big theme of his life, and he projected it onto all of humanity. And I don't think he was exactly wrong. I just think the literalization was wrong. But also, we are all one, so his issue, my issue, your issue, their issue. Anyway, before we can really get into this, we need to make sure that we all know the Oedipus myth. So Oedipus was born to Lazius and Jocasta, who were cursed because Lazius, R-A-P-E-D, a young boy, and so their son was destined to kill the father and have sex with the mother. I don't know if YouTube strikes me, so I am saying these. It's going to be hard with all the incestuous themes of this video. Maybe I'll give up. Anyway, so they have a son, and they get rid of him, and of course is found by a shepherd, and the shepherd takes Oedipus in as their own. But when Oedipus comes of age, he goes and gets an oracle, and it says, "Oh, you're going to kill your father and sleep with your mother." And so he leaves his family. He's out in the wilderness trying to find himself, make himself, and he runs into the stranger, and he kills the stranger. Of course, it was Lazius, his father, the king of Thebes. Then he gets to Thebes, and there's a sphinx. And this is Oedipus's first mistake, because the sphinx itself is a product of incest. We'll get back to that. But you can solve the riddle of the sphinx. You get to be king and marry Jocasta, who Oedipus doesn't know is actually his mother. So Oedipus is the riddle solver. He solves the riddle, and it goes like this. What creature rises with 4 legs, has 2 legs in the afternoon, and 3 legs in the evening? A human. So you're a baby crawling, then you're an adult, and then you're walking. So he defeats the Sphinx, and it stops killing people, and he becomes king of Thebes. And there's all this foreshadowing where he's talking about blindness, this person's blind, that person's blind. Tiresias, who is a very prominent figure in Greek mythology, who is literally blind because he was blinded by Zeus, but in his blindness, his inability to see the external reality, he can see the other reality. He sees truth, he sees fate, he sees what's actually going on. And Tiresias tries to warn Oedipus and says, you're fulfilling this prophecy. And Oedipus, of course, ignores him and says that he's blind. And then when Oedipus eventually comes to realize that he has fulfilled the prophecy, he blinds himself, and he is in the woods, away. He gives up the power of the king because he's just off dealing with his shame and guilt and remorse and ignorance and blindness. And so then his sons take over the throne. Okay, they get in a fight because one's going to rule for this amount of time and that amount of time, and the one brother comes back and is like, hey, it's time for me to rule, Polynices. It's Polynices. I will say Polynices because I didn't bother to look it up or even look in the book. I was just like, F it. But it's what I just said and not what I will continue to say in the video. But you know who I'm talking about. And the name meaning is super cool. It's manifold strife or much strife is what Polynices means. Which is perfect. The name has the power. I don't know why, but it does. And the other brother is like, no, it's not. I'm never giving you your throne. I take back our deal. And so then they kill each other, and Creon takes over as king. And then Creon, in his pride, doesn't want Polynices, the brother that came to get his throne back, to be buried, which it's a divine decree that everybody in Greece was buried to show reverence to the underworld gods, to show reverence to that soul, no matter what team it's on. But Creon's like, no, this is a traitor of the state, and any traitor of the state will not be buried, to really scare people. And Antigone, the daughter of Oedipus and the sister of Polynices, is like, no, I am going to bury my brother. I don't listen to you. I don't listen to the state's decree. I listen to the divine decree. I'm listening to God. I'm not listening to you. And so for this, Creon declares that she will be killed. And Tiresias, of course, tries to then warn Creon and was like, hey, you are going to have a lot of blood spilled because of this, and this is just, tries to tell him what's going on. And of course, Creon listens a little too late, and Antigone dies, and also, I don't know if you can hear that, Creon's son, who is engaged to be betrothed to Antigone, kills himself. So I think that's really relevant, and to keep in mind that the feminine and the masculine, and they're both youthful, the new ideas, the puer and the feminine, or even the puella, are both killed by this old king and his obsession with power and his lack of reverence for what is beyond him. So how does this relate to the modern psyche? For this, we need to look at what I think is one of the most telling quotes. And it is from when Tiresias is trying to warn Oedipus. And Oedipus says, offspring of endless night, referring to the blindness, thou hast no power drive, over me or any man who sees the sun. So this obsession with the sun. I know that I've gone over this before, but I'll go over it again. The sun is the clear-cut scientific light, where at the nighttime, that is a light that we can't understand for certain. It's changing. The moon waxes and wanes. We dream under the moon of the night. The dream can never be interpreted for certain. It can't be studied. It's not scientific. It's symbolic, and the symbols don't have a clear, red means this. Well, red might mean desirousness or whatever to me, but maybe someone who only wore a red shirt growing up their whole life, and it was like confidence for them. Maybe red in their dream means confidence. The dream is so specific to the individual psyche and the individual symbols that it can never be interpreted for certain. There is no clear this means that. And in ancient Greece, there were herms, and on one side of the herm, the medicine was Apollo. Apollo being the god of the sun, the medicine of the clear-cut science. And then on the other side, there was the medicine of the Caduceus, of Mercury, of Hermes, where it was the shamanic medicine of balancing the two opposites, right? And the Sphinx, being a product of incest is a symbol that Oedipus, while running away from this fate, he's run into the image of the fate, and it's feminine. It's the mother, right? It is the Sphinx has a female head, a lion's body, wings, and a tail. Specifically, the tail of a snake. So it is also, alchemically the conjunction of opposites. This whole figure. Anyway, he thinks that he defeats the riddle of the Sphinx with his intellect, but he refuses to see the symbolic nature of the Sphinx, and this is what does him in, and that's why he is blind. And when the chorus asks him why he's blind, he says Apollo. It is because of Apollo. This obsession with rationality. And that's super, super relevant to us. Our rationality holds us back from what? From revering the divine, that which we don't know, that which we can't understand, and also other people that have a view that's outside of our own. Instead of even considering what Tiresias says, Oedipus is like, no, I'm right. This is how it is. Our obsession with, well, I'm this, so, I'm Democratic, so Republicans are stupid, or I'm Republican, Democrats are stupid, or, whatever. This inability to see the other. That's also the obsession with the clear-cut sun consciousness. Instead of being black, instead of welcoming the unknown visitor, that which we don't understand, and entertaining it, listening to it. And so, how does this end up? Well, then we have Creon, who is making the same mistakes, this obsession with, I am the state, I am the power, and how does it end? In his own son dying, and actually his wife also dies as well, losing the family. And the fact that his son dies, this is the puer, the new spirit, that he is refusing to see. And the feminine also, Antigone, who is saying, no, I believe in the divine, this is killed too. So the feminine is also a representation of that caps lock other, that other world, the world that is beyond conceptual understanding, wisdom instead of intellect. And so this is why I think that the story of Oedipus is extremely relevant to the modern psyche, but, Freud made it very literal, saying that, people want to have sex with their mother and kill their father. But I think the true drive is to meet that divine feminine. The divine feminine that shows you what you don't know, that shows you blackness, and kill that obsession with the rationality, the clear-cut science, and merge with the darkness, the feminine unknown. The feminine being the mother that we want to merge with, have incestuous relationships with. Yogananda talked about it a lot. He's like, Divine Mother, I want to fall into you. And to become enlightened, that is to fall into the non-conceptual world, and also to kill the father being rationality, but also being the rules that we were given. You know, we are in a new millennium. Freud wanted the interpretation of dreams, demanded the interpretation of dreams to be published in 1900, and that's what's written on the book, instead of 1899, because he said this is the book of a century. Well, we are not just of a new century, we're of a new millennium, and I really think it's up to us to bring together the old ways and the new ways into one, and be able to be really grateful for science, and also be really grateful for the fact that we don't know anything. You know, I mean, we know things, but we also don't know anything, and being open to other and being able to hold those both at once. And that's the Oedipus drive, I think. Merge with the unknown, merge with the darkness as a modern myth. We need to merge with that which we don't understand, which I think is symbolically represented by the feminine, especially since in Greek mythology, the whole underworld is feminine. Feminine can be whatever, but a lot of times it is seen as darkness, chaos, the underworld, that which we don't understand. The caps lock other, women are more intuitive. Anyway, and those old laws that have been given to us, kill those. Make our own laws. Be the puer that lives. Let your own puer, let your own feminine live. Don't kill them. Don't play out the Oedipal story. To summarize, we live the Oedipal myth because we refuse to see the symbolic reality. To be initiated into the feminine realm is to be initiated into a realm where it's not this or that, it's this and that, which is something I got from, on Audible, there's Marianne Woodman and Robert Johnson, 13 hours of conversation. It's really good. But the masculine wants like a black and white answer. That's why, you know, the patriarchal, we live in the patriarchy. Okay, but what does that really mean? It means black and white answers. It means this devaluation of the black, the feminine principles, the principles of we don't know exactly what the answer is. Because in the world with science, you have to know exactly the answer or else the plane isn't going to fly. Like, thank God for the masculine. Thank you, Lord. But it's such an exaggerated overvaluation of the masculine, then pushing the feminine to the unconscious, devaluing the feminine. Well, there's stuff that we need from that feminine that we need to grab. Oedipus need to grab it. This story is very big in the modern culture because we need to remember and we need to change the ending. So, everyone have incestuous relations with the Great Mother. And really soon I'm going to release the second Jungian movie, which is all about the return of the dark feminine and how it is emerging in culture and how current myths are seeing the emergence of this feminine principle in this new millennium. So if you're interested in understanding more about that, please check out that video. Love to. Freud himself, like Oedipus, could not do this, and that's why Freudian analysis isn't really big today. Him and Jung's tiff came from, you know, Freud's libido was all about sex. He said, you know, cells have two instincts, birth and death. So we have two drives, the death drive and the eros, the drive to create more. And it was very easy to do Freudian analysis because, I mean, it was just so much easier because everything would be interpreted in this view of sex. Oh, you have this kind of dream. You want to do this, blah, 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 blah. And Jung's like, no. There are many drives. The libido is just energy. There's also a drive for spirituality. There's also, like Adler, there's a drive for power. There are these other drives. And Freud could not accept this disagreement. He's like, no, this is what it is. And that ended his relationship with Jung. And that's ultimately why I think Freudian analysis is not big, because it's not all just this one answer. You know, there has to be space for the other, for that which one doesn't know. And that's why it's also a very important myth for psychology to be oriented towards. So I hope that this was interesting, and thank you so much for watching, and I hope to do a lot more videos, and I hope that everyone has been super well, and namaste.